Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where you learn how to extract your business and personal deep wealth. I'm your host, Jeffrey Feldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Deep Wealth and the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your business deep wealth, your exit or liquidity event is the most important financial decision of your life. But unfortunately, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. Think about all that time and your hard-earned money wasted. Of the quote-unquote successful liquidity events, most business owners leave 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket and don't even know it. I should know. I said no to a 7-figure offer and yes to mastering the art and the science of a liquidity event. 2 years later, I said yes to a different buyer with a 9-figure deal. Are you thinking about an exit or liquidity event? Don't become a statistic and make the fatal mistake of believing the skills that built your business are the same ones to sell it. After all, how can you master something you've never done before? Let the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience and the 9-step roadmap of preparation help you capture the best deal instead of any deal. At the end of this episode, take a moment and hear from business owners like you who went through the Deep Wealth Experience. Matthew Hunt is a serial entrepreneur, B2B sales and marketing expert, and coach to company CEOs, marketing directors, and entrepreneurs. His extensive experience of over a decade of helping B2B companies succeed in sales and marketing has driven him to create several 7-figure businesses, and he's just getting started. His company, Automation Wolf, is known for helping clients generate a full month of LinkedIn content in just 1 hour per week. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, and I have a rhetorical question for all you business owners out there. Would you love to grow revenue, get your brand out there, just increase profits, all those wonderful things that you're looking to do? And the answer is, of course you would. That's what we're going to be doing a deep dive on today, amongst many other things with our guest. So Matthew, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. A pleasure to have you with us. And Matthew, there's always a story behind the story. What's your story, Matthew? What got you to where you are today?
It's a very big question. Where do you want me to begin? So I started my career as an entrepreneur probably just pre-2010 at the end of the last recession, or I guess that'd be the last major recession we had. And I was probably always an entrepreneur, but it took me a while to figure out what that was. And so once I discovered that it was just being able to solve problems better than other people could solve, I was like, oh, I can do that. And started my first business not knowing what I was doing. And so I built the first business, which was a digital marketing agency in 2010 through 14. And I exited that one. And I was only successful because of timing. I was not very good at what I did, but I was just early to the market. So anybody who did SEO and Google AdWords would have crushed it because it was so net new. But I probably started being able to actually learn how to build a business better in my second agency, which was from 2014 to 18. And then I exited that one and then took a year off and built my third agency at that point. And I'd say finally, after doing it all wrong twice, I think that I'm starting to get some things right this time around, both on how to go to market, how to do it well and effectively, how to go from go to market to start up, to stay up, to scale up, to big business problems. And the only reason I was able to do that as well too is I was lucky enough that individuals and companies were sweet enough and trusted me enough to help them market their businesses. And it really is a gift because you get to work, when you have a marketing company, you get to work in thousands of different verticals. You get access to the P&L, you get access to senior leadership team members, and it gives you an insight where you can start seeing the trees from the forest and start spotting patterns. And I feel like at this point in my career now that there's probably just about any business I could touch, and there's certain foundations and frameworks and systems that just work over and over again anytime you're trying to scale a business. And if you apply them, they work.
Matthew, I would be remiss. I mean, after all, we're on the Deep Wealth Sell My Business podcast to take a little bit of a side trip, which really isn't a side trip for the community. You've had two exits, and you know what? The old saying, I'd rather be lucky than smart. And sometimes we can't control timing, but it sounds like it worked out to your advantage on the timing side. But let me ask you this quickly before we dive into your magic formula, your magic sauce here of what you're doing for businesses and really helping them out. When you look back at both of your exits, both of your liquidity events, what stands out for you? What really worked for you that you would do again now with your third one?
So the most important thing, if two things. So most people end up exiting a business usually out of stress, not out of a place of like strategic planning. From all the entrepreneurs I've been around in all my peer groups and all the masterminds and all those things, it's very rarely done well. It's usually from being tired is usually it, or a medical issue that's come up and surprised them, or divorce, or all kinds of things that happen in life, some sort of thing that you didn't plan for. And so I think the most important thing at the end of the day is planning for it before you're ready to plan for it. And it always comes down to creating systems and investing in people. And so there's a lot of great systems you can stand on the shoulders of to learn, but like some of the ones that stand out that are really easy that exist there are really good is adopt the EOS system, read the book Traction, and learn how to create systems to your business and a cadence to your business where you're working yourself out of the job, where you're not actually needed. And then what I'd also recommend is if you're thinking about selling, even if you are tired, a more benefit plan is you probably have people on your team, and I guarantee you they're ready to step up and do more if you just got out of the way and admitted it. So sometimes taking a sabbatical is the best thing you can do. If you're not ready to take a year sabbatical or even a 6-month sabbatical, start with just taking a month or 6 weeks. You have to take at least a month to 6 weeks for people to step up and give them the permission that they have the ability to make whatever decisions they want, as long as it's under the decision of something like a $10,000 price. You make the decision, go and do this. And what you'll find is that they're going to start stepping up and running the business the way you expected it to do. And you'll have a little bit of breathing room to think more clearly. Because the last thing you want to do is exit a business under stress. You're never going to make the right decisions. And I would argue, in fact, most people I know, even when they exit, they never wanted to actually exit the business. And once they find out they have to completely rebuild one again when they get back in the game, because that's always what they do, is they realize, oh shit, those early years are really hard. I really wish I didn't sell the business. I just needed a break. And so what I usually recommend to people, if they're even thinking about it, is before you do, just take a sabbatical for a year. This way you can stress test the business and really see how it is. If it goes down, great. If it stays the same and flat, great. If it goes up, great. It doesn't matter what the result is. At least you find out where the business is and you can begin the build from there. And you can begin the build with a little bit of clarity and a little bit of a break. Because most of the time, most entrepreneurs are running 24/7 and they can't see the trees from the forest. And there's no way there's any clarity of clear decision-making happening whatsoever. And what I find at the end of it is they usually end up going, I didn't actually want to sell. I just needed to break, or I just needed to do this other thing. That's what I would recommend for most people.
You know what? Words from the wise to the wise. And for listeners out there, Matthew really touched upon one of my favorite questions when we go through this. Is actually an X factor, step number 2 in our 9-step roadmap. And this is Matthew in our 90-day deep wealth system. And my favorite question, it's a yes or no question, no ifs, maybes, buts, hums or hums. It's, does your business run without you? And as you alluded to, for most business owners, the answer is no, it doesn't. And that's just a huge problem when it comes to having some kind of liquidity event. So terrific. Some wonderful insights from you there. Let's now focus on your magic sauce, because you're putting this claim out there that in less than an hour a month, when you're on LinkedIn, some magic starts to happen with the system that you have of having authentic outreach and building community and just really moving the dial in terms of bringing in new business. So what's that all about, Matthew? Walk us through that.
So we mostly work with right now busy CEOs and founders who run B2B businesses. And so their biggest problem is not like knowing what to do or how to do it. It's really their obstacle is time. That's the truth. And sometimes they think they can solve it with processes and people. But again, that takes time. More people, more processes, more problems usually. So when we discovered that, what we decided was we said, hey, these individuals, we know that they believe that they need to create content and lead with goodwill, just like you are here with this podcasting. They know they need to be on LinkedIn, but they're not at this time. how can we help them solve that problem? So we created a service where we can help them create all of their LinkedIn content. And it's in actually an hour and a half per month, not an hour, because it's 1 hour to create it and then 30 minutes to approve it or provide feedback so that we can begin syndicating it. Because the reality is this, is they need to be there, and they know that the more often they're there, the more top of mind they're going to be with their existing clients right away. And it's just a consistency problem at the end of the day. So this is what we did. We lead with video. We interview them very much like a podcast like this, but instead of it being a long format, it's short form, snackable content. And we do it privately as well. So there's no pressure to be able to get it right. In this way, editing can be your friend, and we can coach them through it and basically get them trained to be media trained so that the end result is perfect, snackable video content at the end of the day. And then we can take that video content and it's going to inspire all the other formats that you need to do. So polls, text, images, PDF carousels, because not everybody consumes video. And it ends up becoming net new content because you published it in a new format. And this gives you a nice little way of coming across as different ways as we create that content so that it gets consumed and you can stay top of mind with your existing warm network. And when you're top of mind, your existing warm network, guess what ends up happening? All kinds of good things happen. You get on more podcasts, you have more opportunities of JVs, your clients keep you top of mind, it becomes client enablement, it becomes talent acquisition things, becomes talent enablement as well too, because you're spending more time with them without actually having to spend more time with people. And you can also be discovered for new clients who might ladder up to your other content assets. So there's a litany of really good reasons to do it. It becomes a lead domino to many other big things. And that's why people are doing this and why it's working for them.
And so let me ask you, Matthew, that sounds wonderful, but let's take a quick step back. So when you begin to work with most business owners, and you're saying some don't even have a LinkedIn profile, but for the ones that do, what are the classic mistakes that you're seeing that these are the things, hey, stop what you're doing, don't pass go, don't collect your $200, stay in jail, because until you fix these things, it's just not going to work for you.
Yeah, sure. So in general, most businesses are growing basically on their referrals and word of mouth, which is like awesome, best kind of business ever, but it can be very unpredictable at the end of the day. Some businesses start to deploy some very basic outbound or inbound strategies, but again, it leads to not always the best leads. Like at the end of the day, you may get lots of leads, but it's not about getting lots of leads, but getting the right leads. So they still also have a noise factor. You want fewer leads, but the right leads. Like no founder or even senior leader wants to have 20 phone calls that are one-on-one to close 2 deals. What they want to have is 2 phone calls and 2 close. And they want all the wrong people that you want to repel just magically disappear. So they need a system that's easy like this to do that. And what that's actually called is demand gen today. And so people need to focus on demand gen because demand gen allows you to build demand, but also repel the wrong people and attract absolutely the right people. It also allows you, when you do it the right way, which is our 3-pillar system, which is a short form, long form, controlled form, allows you to be intentional with who you're doing it with. So who you're specifically going after. So there's a great book, I think it's called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. It's the late, great Chet Holmes. It's a little bit old, but it's evergreen. It's worth reading even to this day. He talks about everybody needs to have a Dream 100 list. Well, you need to have 2 Dream 100 lists, okay? One of your Dream 100 clients and then one of your Dream 100 influencers. And when you strategically go after these 2 individuals and create communication that goes after those 2 groups, you find massive leverage. And so when you do that, those are things that are going to get you in the right direction at the end of the day, because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to remove noise and create more leverage for you where you don't need more headcount per se. You don't need to do more work, but it provides more results. And the challenge is at the end of the day is people are confusing the difference between activity and productivity. They're very different things. And so when I ask people like, hey, there are all kinds of things you can do, but when we measure it based on impact versus effort, your time or your team's time, it immediately starts to melt away all the silly things that you really don't need to be doing. And it comes back to that 80-20 rule type thing.
And so walk us through that. What does that really mean? What's involved with that and how does that work?
Okay, so here's the thing. So when you're working with people and why people buy from you, they only buy from people they know can trust. Well, they can't trust you if they don't like you, and they can't like you if they don't know you. So knowing you is about being consistent somewhere, consistently showing up. So short form is this. It's the snackable content you'll see in social media. Okay. And it can be there organically or through paid ads. The mistake that people make with their paid ads on social media is that they actually make a direct response instead of education based, particularly in my niche, which is B2B high ticket long buying cycles. Okay. That would be yours as well, too. You're helping people build wealth, helping people exit. This is not something people do lightly without finding the right partner. So it's a long buying cycle. You're in it for the long haul. So it requires a lot of education. This is why you have a podcast. So I already know you get this, but for your listeners who don't get this is what we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is speed that up at a one-to-many level. There's something called the 7, 11, and 4 rule. It wasn't created by me. It was created by a guy named Daniel Priestley. He wrote a book called Oversubscribed. Again, another one of these books, just like The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. It's evergreen. You could pick it up, read it today. You could read it in 20 years. It's still going to apply to every business no matter what. There's just some principles that never change. The 7, 11, and 4 rule is one of those. Have you heard of the 7, 11, 4 rule before?
I have heard of it, but for our listeners who haven't, why don't you walk them through that?
Great. So the 7, 11, 4 rule is this. Dan Priestley discovered and did some consumer insight. What does it take to take an individual who is investing a lot of money in something? Okay. So this is like buying a car. This is investing your wealth. This is making a major B2B purchase, maybe software that you're going to spend $500,000 on. Okay. Or something like this. You're not going to do it lightly. We don't buy from strangers when we're doing that. We only buy from people who are strategic advisors. And so what does it take to get someone to see you as a stranger to a strategic advisor? One is time. It requires 7 hours of consuming you and your brand. Okay. Also, it requires different interactions. It requires 11 interactions. Not only that, it requires it on different locations, both offline and online, on 4 different locations. And so what you're trying to do is serve the 7, 11, and 4 rule to move yourself from stranger to strategic advisor. Because when you're a strategic advisor, you're already preemptive to all of your other competitors. You own the relationship. This is nothing net new. Everybody knows this. This is why referrals work, but you're trying to do it at a one-to-many level. So what we've done is we said, hey, how do we serve that 7, 11, 4 rule? How do we do it really simply without it taking up someone's time where they can find leverage and build trust with people at a one-to-many level? And so we call this the one-to-many selling system. So the short form is that snackable content in social media like LinkedIn, where you can show up organically or through paid ads to stay top of mind or add value. Now, no one's going to buy from you on the snackable content, but so what we need to do is ladder them up to a long form format. Usually this is called a conversion event in marketing, okay? You might know this is a webinar, but don't call it a webinar. Instead, call it a workshop. Don't make it pre-recorded. Do it live, okay? You can't serve people well doing it pre-recorded. They know it's pre-recorded. It just becomes a pitch fest. It doesn't really work. So what we're going to do is a workshop, and you put all these people in the workshop. Instead of doing one-to-one sales calls or a one-to-one demo calls, why not put 20, 50, 100, 150, 1,000 people in one call and help them be more awesome? You're not trying to solve all their problems. You just want to solve one problem that they have to build trust, take them from A to B and make them instantly more awesome in that 1 hour. And what will happen is if they're in market where they believe they have a problem that you can solve and they have budget, they will naturally end up in your sales pipeline. If they are not in market, which is totally okay, only 1 to 3% is ever in market at this time, doesn't mean they can't buy from you. It just means they can't buy from you right now. You still want to invest and think of the whole market of where the future is going. You need somewhere to stick them. This is why you have that controlled form pillar. And so you need to be able to take them and put them into something that's controlled form that you can do one-to-many selling or one-to-many goodwill and reciprocity building with them to be able to stay top of mind so that when the timing is right, you're the most logical choice. And so that controlled form is usually something like a private community, online or offline, or it could be a podcast, or it could be a newsletter, something that adds a lot of value in their lives that they're looking forward to participating in on a regular basis, but it doesn't feel like you're pitching them. You're just depositing trust, because trust equity is really what we want to build at the end of the day. That is the most valuable asset on the planet. If you own the trust with a group of people, an audience, or a community, you literally have a license to print money. And so those are the 3 pillars. Yeah. So if you just want to keep it really simple, what is your short form snackable content that you're going to do? What is your long form conversion event? What is your controlled form pillar that you're going to do to be able to stay top of mind and continue to keep building goodwill that's easy? And so this is what we want to do. And we want to do it as little as possible. So when someone works with us, for example, we're able to help them create their conversion event and their snackable content, and they can do all of this in just 2.5 hours per month. And for most businesses, if they're under a couple $1 million per year in revenue, that's enough to sustain it. They don't need to do ads. They don't need to do SEO. They don't need to write articles. They don't need to do conferences. They don't need to do at home. They don't need to run billboards. They don't need to be doing cold oatmeal. They don't need to be running a ton of ads on different networks. They don't need to be doing any of those things. They just need to do those very simple things to create leverage on things that are already working by building a strategic, continuous plan of referrals and building goodwill and trust, and just continue to keep doing that. And if you do this, it compounds. And anybody who understands the laws of compound interest understands this. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market, and everything that you do adds to itself, that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And the more you do it, the better it gets.
What's the story behind the story on that system? How did you get the system evolved, and where did that come from?
From a lot of trial and error and mistakes, even on myself. And also the permission of a lot of other people allowing me to figure it out with them. A lot of times, like even when I started this business, I started it as a beta and just with my warm network. So I already had enough credibility after having 2 businesses and being a part of 1 million masterminds and events and conferences that I just went to my network and I said, what do you need? So one, asking, okay, cool, you need this. And then I came up with a concept of the idea, no website, no nothing. I said, cool, I'm going to do a beta, but give me money and then I will figure it out. And it's going to be terrible, but you're paying a quarter the price of what it's really going to be at. So if people are not willing to vote with your wallets, they'll do that. And then they collaboratively, as I stumbled through it, and I said, what are the universal things that work no matter what business you're in? And started piecing those things together. And eventually I was able to create a signature system that had 3 pillars and 12 steps. So I just shared with you the 3 core pillars at a 10,000 foot view, but obviously there's a lot of little things that you can do throughout this to nail it. And that's like how it was figured out, mostly through pain of my own needs. So I needed a system that would work for me on a bootstrap company with no funding and needed to stay profitable while growing. What were those things that we needed to do? And so I did a lot of the wrong things myself too, like investing in ads. I remember having a website with, blogging and content, and eventually realizing that it was creating so much noise for us that I deleted 75% of the content on there because I was pleasing my peers, not my buyers. 2, it was all how-to information, and none of my clients wanted to know how to do it. They just wanted to learn what to look for and what to look out for when buying it, because they didn't want to be DIYers. They didn't want to be do it with me either. They wanted done for you services. And so, yes, my traffic went down. Yes, my leads went down, but it was fantastic because then I started attracting only the right leads on the right content, the ones who wanted to buy the services. And I stopped caring about impressing my peers who would never give me any money at the end of the day anyways, and become much more strategic. So once you start to understand these things, then you start piecing it together. So it's just 15 years of trial and error on hundreds and thousands of accounts and doing it wrong more times than doing it right.
Yeah, you put the heavy lifting in so all your clients can benefit, and 15 years overnight success in the making, of course. Yeah. And there you go. And so let me ask you this. So depending on what a client would do with you, from 1.5 hours to 2.5 hours per month, roughly, is what you're looking at. And you're behind the scenes, you've got the system, you're really guiding them, mentoring, coaching them to do all the right things. So how long does it take for it to begin to start getting that traction, to start getting the flow of leads coming in and sales starting from month 1 onwards? What are we looking at?
Yeah, transformations were really quick. But the first month, we actually need people for more time than that. We actually require 7 hours of their time. And so the first 3 hours are 3 separate meetings that are go-to-market meetings where we do some workshopping and we pick your brain and ask questions to get your IP out of your head and on paper. And we use frameworks to do this, and it works really well. So basically, not only do we want to go through who your ideal buyers are, because that's who we want to speak to, not what your needs are, but your clients and customers' needs are. And then we figure out what are their hot buttons. We use an empathy mapper type thing to do this, which is like fears, frustrations, wants, and aspirations. And then we go even deeper. Then we start getting into positioning. How do we make you look different than all your competitors, where you're not beige and boring? And so this is the whole idea of getting out of the red ocean into the blue ocean, if you've ever read the book Blue Ocean. And then we get into creating your signature system. What is going to make you stand out, that you can clearly articulate what you do in 3 pillars with 3 steps. So you have a 3x3 matrix. Once we have that, now we're ready to start creating content. But until we have that, a lot of times we're not able to start. And then so once we have that, actually inspires the content. So in one of our exercises, we're always like, hey, what's the old way of doing something versus the new way? So I might say in my business, the old way is focusing on leads and sales. The new way is focusing on community and trust, right? Or maybe I'd say the old way is building marketing teams. The new way is building a media company. And then I would unpack what that is. You will have your versions of that, but it is evergreen. But if we can get people thinking differently about how they buy or what to look for and look out for and how to think about something, they have this aha moment. And when they have this aha moment, you earn trust. And to be able to get there, we always follow the same framework, which is we're always focused on so there's the hook. And then there's what is the pain they're going through right now? Where is it that they want to go? Because humans are simple. We move away from pain and we move towards pleasure. You must stack both at the same time together. And then we explain how to get onto the other side. And when they have that moment, it becomes very contagious. It becomes, people really want it. And so once we do those exercises, we're able then to create really compelling content that attracts the right people and repels the wrong people in the right way. And so that's how we get there to creating content, how it turns into content. And then what we do is we just do these sessions, like honestly, like a Zoom, we actually use Riverside, but it's like this via Zoom, like you and I are doing right now. And we have a private session where we train you on and coach you through creating this excellent content. Now, this content gets put out goes out and it's up and running very quickly. We'll have your first content out the door within 4 weeks. And as soon as it goes out the door, you're going to start seeing results because you're going to see right away. And the first results you usually see is your team notices it. They're like, oh, that's cool. Your existing clients notice it. Your past clients notice it. Your family and friends and warm network notices it. And you'll start getting positive feedback from them right away. And you'll start seeing you get more referrals right away. Also, you'll start seeing that you'll get more buy-in and upsells internally. You're going to attract more talent. You're like, all these good things happen when you start getting consistent and you start articulating the right messaging. You'll also notice that you've effectively become a more effective communicator. And once you become a more effective communicator, guess what ends up happening? You end up upselling more clients and more programs. You end up being able to train your team better. You're able to close more deals better. You are ready to show up on the 6 o'clock news with your sound bites and do this amazing stuff. You become an eloquent speaker with sound bites, which is just amazing. So that's the first thing that people notice right away. And then if you're strategic, we'll connect you with your ideal ICPs after that so they can start discovering you, because they don't have an opportunity to discover you if you're not connected with them. And so the big mistake that people make when they're connecting is they connect and pitch. Ew, yuck. No, it's terrible. We don't want to do that. Stranger equals danger. But if you connect with a personalized message and then you share your content and you give it some time to breathe and you're patient, then we can see who's engaging with it. And then it makes sense to do some probing questions or to start building that relationship. And so this social selling aspect of it. And then we can also invite them to your long form content at that point. So that usually happens 60 days later that you do your first workshop. And we're going to promote people to go to your workshop, and people are going to raise their hand and they're going to sign up for it. And you're going to get their first name, their last name, their company name, and their email address. And they're going to show that they're interested. And this would be considered an MQL in your CRM. Not an SQL. They're not ready to buy yet. Some people are like, oh boy, let's go sell them. These are leads. Those are not leads. Those are marketing qualified leads who said that they're interested in it. And what you'll find is about 25% of people watch it between the live and the replay, and 75% do not. That is normal. That is okay. It doesn't mean that you don't nurture them or you don't follow up or you don't make any other offers within reason, depending on what they signed up for. But that's how far you go. And so within 60 days, you're going to know whether it's working or not. Now, you still have to nurture them and close them and take them through your sales process. And depending how long your sales process is, some people's it's 30 days and other people's it's 12 months. But the point is that's a lagging indicator of success. So what you want to look at is a leading indicator of success. So it's always like, am I doing the right content? Is it easy for me? Is it making me more effective communicator? Am I building a list with garbage in, being strategic? Are they engaged with my content, or are they signing up for my workshop? If those things are happening, logically, the next good things are going to happen, which is eventually you're going to build enough goodwill and trust equity that's going to lead to sales.
Matthew, sounds terrific. That said, I know there's people listening to this podcast that are saying, okay, you know what, Matthew, you seem like a nice guy. You tell a great story. But last time I checked, there is so much noise out there, whether it's LinkedIn or some of the other platforms that are out there. How am I going to stand out from all of that? Because there's just so much going on, and I hear what you're saying, but it's almost too good to be true. So what's the catch? What's really going on? Why and how is this cutting through all the noise?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's great for a couple of reasons. So two reasons. So one is it's only your first connections that see your content. So it's not like an algorithm in the same way like it's TikTok if it goes viral or not. In this case, if you connect with more people and you do good content that speaks to their needs, it's going to get seen. And then on top of that, even if it doesn't get seen organically, what's so great about LinkedIn is you can build a list and scrape the list and upload it to LinkedIn ads and get pretty much a 90% match. So then they're guaranteed to see your content in the newsfeed. So the most direct way without friction and without coming across as salesy or sleazy to get your content and your message or value prop to your ideal prospects, where you can't really do that on other platforms. You can't have an upload and guarantee it. You can build retargeting audiences and other audiences based on other actions, but this guarantees that. So that's why I would focus on LinkedIn if you're in a B2B business, particularly if you sell high ticket, long buying cycle type stuff. Like if you're an agency or a coach or a consultant, or you have high ticket B2B SaaS, this is really the number one place to be. But generally speaking, you go wherever your audience is or wherever your customers are. If you're a B2C business and you sell to a different demographic, then obviously you might go to TikTok, or you might go to Instagram, or you might go to Google. Or if it's heavy search, you could go to search. But even then, search is usually a bottom of funnel type thing, not a top of funnel thing where you get discovered. I like to be preemptive and be discovered before people go to search. Because even when they go to search, they're going to treat you like a commodity if you don't own the trust. So you want to own the relationship. And these are ways that you're trying to find to own the relationship. And all I ask you is when you're doing things is just look at the simple filter. It's just like an Eisenhower matrix or something. How much time is this going to take me? How much budget is it going to take me versus how much impact? That's all you have to ask.
There's so many things that you talked about. And for our listeners, some big takeaways. Hey, don't confuse activity with progress. And you know what? It's better to be less busy, but to be really focusing on the people who are actually going to open the wallet and give you the order. And last but not least, of the many, many things that you shared, Matthew, it's, hey, this is a done for you system. You're not doing the heavy lifting. You're not doing 15 years of trial and error and who knows how much money that you're spending. You figured it out. You're working it and taking your clients to LinkedIn and the marketplace. And that's where the results start happening. So, Matthew, we can go on and on about this, and who knows, perhaps there'll even be another episode to talk a little bit more about this. But we're starting to bump up against some time, so I'd like to do a little bit of a transition and have a quick thought experiment with you. So, if you will, think of the movie Back to the Future. And in the movie, you have that magical DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. So, Matthew, imagine now it's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window and there it is. The DeLorean car is not only waiting for you, but the door is open for you to hop on in and you're going to go to any point in your life. Matthew, as a young child or a teenager, whatever the case would be, what are you telling your younger self in terms of, hey, Matthew, here's some life wisdom or here's some life lessons or do this, but don't do that? What does that sound like for you?
I'll keep it business related. That's the first thing that came to mind. And so I would say that in one of my businesses, I got partners because I was overwhelmed and I thought that we could divide and conquer. But really what I needed to do was actually hire coaches. And I would have hired a business coach first and a consultant, particularly someone who's done it before, who could guide me through it, because that's really what I needed at the time. I didn't need partners. I needed actually a coach. And then the second thing is if I did need partners, I would have spent a lot more time in due diligence in evaluating that we had the same values, because those are the rules of the game that you play at the end of the day. And if you don't have the same values, you're not going to make it as partners. And so that would have avoided me a lot of grief in my life and stress and gray hairs if I'd known those two things before going down a partnership.
Absolutely brilliant advice. Partners on just as it is, it's tough enough. And you have the chemistry and the background and the values, like you're saying. And if you can get it done with a coach and a consultant, and you're keeping 100% of the business to yourself, and you're really not having some of those potential issues, that is the absolute way to go. Couldn't concur with you more on that.
Partners are great. They give you a lot of leverage if you get the right ones, but it is the trickiest sailboat to sail. That's just for sure. So I'm not against partners. I just think that it's like a marriage. People who only spend 5 minutes planning their life together, hours and hours on their wedding usually fail. But those that spend many hours planning on being together and little time on the actual wedding are the ones that survive the business at the end of the day. So just take your time. Date.
Absolutely. Take your time, date, see what it's all about on the business side. That will treat you very, very well. Matthew, if someone would like to reach you online, what's the best place?
Yeah, you can just go to automationwolf.com. It's a one-page website on purpose, or you can go to LinkedIn and search Matthew Hunt and you'll find me. Those are the only two places you'll find me.
Terrific. And we'll put all that in the show notes. It'll be point and click. Can't get any easier for listeners. Well, Matthew, as we wrap up this episode, a heartfelt thank you for taking part of your day and spending it with us on the Sell My Business podcast. And as always, please stay healthy and safe.
Thanks for having me, Jeffrey.
The Deep Wealth experience was definitely a game changer for me.
This course is one of the best investments you will ever make because you will get an ROI of 100 times that. Anybody who doesn't go through it will lose millions.
If you don't have time for this program, you'll never have time for a successful liquidity.
I mean, it was the best value of any business course I've ever taken. The money was very well spent.
Compared to when we first began, today I feel better prepared, but in some respects, maybe less prepared, not because of the course, but because the course brought to light so many things that I thought we were on top of that we need to fix.
I 100% believe there's never a great time for a business owner to allocate extra hours into his or her week or day. So it's an investment that will yield results today. I thought I will reap the benefit of this program in 3 to 5 years down the road. But as soon as I stepped forward into the program, my mind changed immediately.
There was so much value in the experience that the time I invested paid back so much for the energy that was expended.
The Deep Wealth experience compared to other programs is the top. What we learned is very practical. Sometimes you learn stuff that is great to learn, but you never use it. The stuff we learned from Deep Wealth experience, I believe is going to benefit us both.
I've done an executive MBA. I've worked for billion-dollar companies before. I've worked for smaller companies before I started my business. I've been running my business successfully now for getting close to a decade. We're on a growth trajectory. Reflecting back on the Deep Wealth, I knew less than 10% what I know now. Maybe close to 1% even.
Hands down, the best program in which I've ever participated. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've been in other mastermind groups, gone to many seminars, workshops, conferences, retreats, read books. This was so different. I haven't had an experience that's anything close to this in all the years that we've been at this. It's 5-star, A+.
I would highly recommend it to any super busy business owner out there. And Deep Wealth is an accurate name for it. This program leads to deeper wealth and happier wealth, not just deeper wealth. I don't think there's a dollar value that could be associated with such an experience and knowledge that could be applied today and forever.
Are you leaving millions on the table? Please visit www.deepwealth.com/success to learn more. If you're not on my email list, you'll want to be. Sign up at www.deepwealth.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode of the Sell My Business podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Reviews help me reach new listeners, grow the show, and continue to create content that you'll enjoy. As we close out this episode, a heartfelt thank you for your time, and as always, please stay healthy and safe.